Hello Gecko fans, this is Wally with Supreme Gecko. Here I am again in our kitchen. It's been a long time. Well, you know, it's Nanette's kitchen, it's not our kitchen. Just doing some dishes, putting them away. I have something really special to show you today. It's going to be fun, it's going to be interesting. It might just save you some money, it might just save you some time. So let's talk about that right now. Over the years, I've had a little bit of a problem. And that problem has been, well, my problem right now is that I'm out of coffee. Let me go ahead and grab some coffee and we're going to talk about feeders. Well, I hope that's not too loud. I want to talk to you about feeders. One of the biggest problems that I've had over the last 10-15 years is working with dubias. Not that working with dubias is the problem. The problem is that we harvest the dubias, we separate the babies from the adults. Some are a little bit bigger, some are a little bit smaller, depending on when we harvest. And then we're able to feed off the smallest of dubias probably for about another month or two, and then they get too large. The problem is they get too large for some of our smaller micro geckos. Even our medium-sized geckos, these dubias get a little bit too big and we have to sell them at reptile shows or whatever. So I need a source of small, there's my coffee, I need a source for small feeder insects other than mealworms, other than crickets, that I can use for some of our very small geckos. And I'm going to show you the solution that we came up with here that works perfect for us. So let me go ahead and grab my coffee. I'll go grab the feeder insects. I'll bring them up here and I'll show you what we're going to be doing. Wait a minute. I'm bringing feeder insects upstairs to our kitchen. I know Nanette's going to watch this video later. I don't think we're going to do that. Let's go ahead and go back downstairs, back into the bug room. I'll show you what these feeder insects are. Let's go. Okay, let me go ahead and swing around and I'll show you the adult dubia containers that we have that we're working with. We used to keep these adult dubias in, oh gosh, they were 120 quart containers. Now they're in these smaller, I think they're probably about 15 gallon containers, and these work out a lot better for us simply from a maintenance standpoint. It's so much easier to maintain them in these smaller enclosures. We just did a recent harvest. We pulled a lot of babies. This is one of our tubs right here. I think there's 500 grams in that tub of baby dubias, and we have a couple more that we just pulled. So let's swing back around here and I'll show you the feeders that we're going to talk about today. And in this dark corner of the room we have our Red Goblin. These are roaches and we're going to talk about them today. Let me go ahead and pull that container out. Okay, here's our container. It's a very simple 30 quart container. As you can see, we have lots and lots of ventilation on the top. We have a lot of ventilation on the side, 3 different holes. Let me pull this top off. And this is a really simple setup here. You can see I have the egg cartons, I have the coconut shell over there, and you'll see as I pick some of these up, we'll see some of the Red Goblins jumping around. Let me put that to the side. Maybe we can get a good view here. There's some babies. You can see the big adult coming out. And they don't get very big. That's about it. And so just a little tiny bit over an inch for the adults. But you can really see how small these babies are. Let's take a look under this piece right here. This egg carton. And you can just see them running all over the place. This isn't the nicest, cleanest setup, but it's very adequate. I keep a pile of sphagnum moss to the side there, a damp pile of sphagnum moss. You can see them running all over the place here, but they're not too fast. Now the adults don't climb at all. The babies do climb a little bit, but most of the time they burrow. Let's go ahead and pull a couple of other pieces here. You can see a bunch of them in all the little grooves and pockets of this container. And as you can see, the little babies running around, you can see that they're just absolutely the perfect size. Now, I'm going to guess that this cork bark that we have here is just loaded with them. And I was right. Look at them take off just like they do when they're exposed to any light. And they're gone. Let's take a look under this other piece of cork bark. Uh-oh, we have something else in there that you might notice. Those are dairy cow isopods. Now, I keep a group of dairy cows in here. They're reproducing pretty well. More importantly, they do a lot of cleanup. I think they both clean up each other very, very well in this enclosure. You can see the sphagnum moss down there. You can see some more dairy cows running around. Again, this is a smaller enclosure. It's not super big. I'm going to go ahead and set up another couple of containers like this in the next month or so, just so we can increase the population that we have for these red goblins. I like to feed these red goblins a couple of different types of foods. First of all, a nice dry food like the Supreme Isopod chow. And I also like to feed them a lot of firmer vegetables like zucchini or pumpkin or squash. Let's see if we can get that rolled over here a little bit. You can see them running around. For me, I initially got about 20 or 30 from Paul's Pills. I have the video that you can watch right up here. And I got enough just as a good starter colony, and it took about 2 or 3 months for these to really, really take off. I'd like to keep more leaves in here. I'm going to have to reset up some leaves because it looks like the isopods probably ate all of those leaves. But again, very, very simple enclosure here. At this point, we're ready to harvest some of these red goblins and feed to our geckos. So let's go ahead and grab a piece of egg crate and shake it off into this container, and we'll set up some feeding bowls. I'm putting our bucket as close as I possibly can to the container holding the roaches. That way none fall off on the floor. Let's shake some off. A couple of gentle taps. I'll go ahead and put this back in the bucket. Let's go ahead and get a little bit of a closer look at these. Hopefully you can see exactly how small some of these babies are. I'm going to go ahead and catch some of the larger roaches here and put them back into the container, and we're only going to feed some of these small ones. We have about a dozen left in here that we're going to feed off, but first I'm going to go ahead and dust with this calcium vitamin mix. And I'm just going to throw a teeny tiny bit in here, and I'll swirl this container around and get these roaches a little bit dusted. Okay, what that dusting does is it settles down the roaches a little bit. With the dust on their legs and their bodies, they can't climb as well, and it also obviously gives vitamins and supplements to the geckos. Next, I'm going to take this bucket and I'll fill up a couple of food dishes. We have these glass food dishes and they're just perfect for the geckos. As you can see, these red goblins just are not climbing this glass. Here's the smaller glass. Here's the larger glass. We're all set to feed our geckos. Let's go ahead and feed. Alright, we're all set up with these Chondrodactylus pulitzerized. These are babies, so they'll take these red goblins very well. Let's go ahead and put them in here. Let's see what happens. Well, we're back upstairs. That was a really difficult time trying to get those geckos to eat the red robins. They just didn't like the lights whatsoever. We did get a couple of shots, so I'm very thankful for that. If you have any questions about feeding red robins to your geckos, to your dart frogs, to your mantis, to your tarantulas, whatever you're feeding, let me know in the comments down below. And absolutely make sure that you watch this video right here about when we first got our red robins from Paul's Pills. It's a great video. We'll see you next time.